If Russia, if China, if Iran, if the people behind in Venezuela think Donald Trump is playing games, this video proves them wrong. Let's jump right into what's happening in the Caribbean and why it matters to you. Early this morning, a Coast Guard tactical team conducted a pre-dawn boarding and seizure of the motor tanker Veronica in the Caribbean. Another sanctioned Ghost Fleet tanker had previously passed through the Venezuelan waters and was operating in defiance of President Trump's established quarantine of these sanctioned vessels in the Caribbean taking oil back to Russia. The United States forces boarded this tanker, this sanctioned tanker. It was recently named the Galileo under a Russian flag, and the Southern Caribbean is heating up. This joint task force, Marines, United States Navy, coming off the USS Gerald Ford, fast roped down. They fast roped down onto this vessel, and they took it. They seized it.
A part of what officials have called a, quote, ghost fleet trying to evade the law. According to one official, the tanker was flying a flag from Guyana and was one of the larger sized tankers, which means that it could carry up to 2 million barrels of oil. Now, this is just days after the U.S. Coast Guard seized another sanctioned oil tanker in international waters on Friday. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had called that tanker, named the Olena, also part of this ghost fleet. The U.S., EU, and U.K. all sanctioned the Olena for transporting Russian oil in violation of earlier restrictions. So now we're talking about 6 sanctioned oil tankers seized by the U.S. in about a month. The Skipper on December 10th, the Centuries on December 20th.
So there we go. The United States, Donald Trump is not playing games. For some reason, Russia thought that they could get through. They thought that they could manipulate the system. This is Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. She lays it out. Coast Guard tactical team conducted a pre-dawn boarding on the motor tanker Veronica. They are not letting up on this. They are not going to allow these things to happen. You heard it could carry up to 2 million gallons of oil. 2 million gallons of oil. That is a hell of a lot of oil that would be definitively supplied for Russia. Well, no more. Donald Trump is not playing these games. This is over. You can see here, U.S. Southcom has announced to publish the footage of the interception. Now, certain news media outlets are losing their minds. This is CBS. Listen to what these clowns say.
It's happening all over the place now. So this is the latest, and it just happened this morning. We got information. So Operation Southern Spear, that's the operation looking after the area around Venezuela and the Caribbean. They announced that the 6th tanker named the Veronica was seized. And notably, they point out that the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier was involved in that. And that's important because you have Marines and Navy spearheaded by the Coast Guard. That's probably what you're seeing there. Those are probably Coast Guard Special Operations Forces that are being lowered there. But this is done in support with the U.S. military, with the Gerald R. Ford. They also mentioned the Iwo Jima. That's notable because that is an amphibious ship, and it's got Marines on board. And these things, I got to keep pointing this out. They've been out there for a long time, specifically the Iwo Jima, which has been on deployment for a while, and the Ford, which is actually turned around from the European Command to Southern Command. So
I don't know, at some point, Venezuela, Russia, China, Iran, they are going to learn a lesson. If you watched a previous video, Iran just came out and made an open threat, a state-sponsored threat towards Donald Trump, saying they would not miss again. This alluded to the fact that Iran could very well have close ties to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. But now, this is only going to heat up. This is going to raise the, quote, temperature in the room when Russia continues to try to get unsanctioned oil back to their home country. And I don't believe the United States military is going to allow this to happen. I don't believe Donald Trump is going to allow this to happen. He is finished playing games. And by us going into Venezuela, reclaiming the oil that was rightfully purchased, the rights to drill that were rightfully purchased by American companies, oftentimes with American tax dollars, American subsidies, this changes everything. The United States military is still in the Caribbean. Just because they have Maduro doesn't mean that they are backing off. It doesn't mean they're leaving. It doesn't mean that they are going to allow Russia and China back into our hemisphere. That's the big game here, is keeping these world powers, keeping these nuclear superpowers out of our hemisphere, back into the area that they need to be in. And until Russia comes to some sort of resolve or some kind of meeting or mediation with the war in Ukraine, this pressure is going to continue. China, with the pressure that they've got on Taiwan, you cut off the oil supply because Russia, China, Iran, they were all getting supplied from Venezuela. And now that we're in charge, now that we've got those oil rights, those oil tankers in our possession, Donald Trump knows that he holds the, quote, Trump card. Energy equals power. Oil equals power on the world stage. And China and Russia definitively know that. That's why they are trying to play these games in the Caribbean. I would like to get your thoughts on this. Do you support the United States providing security, sanctions on these rogue ghost ships coming in out of the Caribbean? They are trafficking in materials that are probably more often than not damaging to us in exchange for this oil. That's what I think Maduro was doing. He was bringing toxic substances in to send to America from China, and in exchange, he was sending oil back to them with who knows what kind of intentions. Probably supplying North Korea as well, Iran, North Korea, Yemen, all of these countries that hate us. That's what's going on here. And it's stopped. It is going to get shut down immediately. There's a new sheriff in town, and he just got the endorsement, War Powers Act, from the Senate. It was a 50-50 vote. J.D. Vance cast the deciding vote there. I'd love to get your opinion in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Is this game over for Venezuela? Is it game over for Russia? Is it game over for China? Or is this just going to get a little more chaotic? We know what's going on in Iran. We know what's going on in the streets of the United States right now. You control the energy. You control everything. And it seems right now Donald Trump controls everything. Smash the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.